In today's transmission, I talk about becoming the creators of our own reality, of learning to harness our own beliefs, thoughts, and feelings to manifest anything we want into our lives, whether that's a dream home, a winning lottery jackpot ticket, or a free pile of firewood. Here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to A Cult of Misfits. I am Divinity, playing the role of Matt Owens. Good to see you again. If you're not following me over on Instagram, I think that it's probably time that you reprioritize your life because it's a hotbed of activity over there. A Cult of Misfits over on Instagram. I post live videos. I post hilarious memes. If you're into hilarity, then this is the place for you. So head over to Instagram and follow me there. I'm also on YouTube, Spotify. I don't know where you're listening to this. I'm everywhere, guys. I'm everywhere. It sounded a little creepy, like I'm right behind you. I'm not literally behind you right now, but if you wanted to invite me over for some coffee, I probably would say yes. Today I want to talk about manifesting. It's one of my favorite topics, and I feel like I haven't talked about it in a while, and it's been on my mind. It's on my mind often, to be honest with you. So I want to break it down for you guys. When I first started looking into things of a spiritual nature, Eastern philosophies, that sort of thing, there's a lot of talk of manifestation. You can manifest anything you want. Manifest your dreams. And I thought that sounds pretty good, actually. I'd like to dabble in that and see if there's anything to this whole manifesting thing. This is just how I am. I got to do it for myself. I got to roll up my sleeves, try it out, test it, play with it, see how it works. And that's what I was doing with manifesting. So I thought, okay, let's try this whole manifesting thing out. We'll start small. I realized at the time I was a food photographer, and I would often go to restaurants in Seattle to shoot food photography. And it always stressed me out to the max. I lived about 30 minutes outside of Seattle at the time, and so going into the big city was always... This makes it sound like I'm Amish or something, guys. I just lived in a suburb outside of Seattle. I wasn't going there in my horse and buggy. So I lived about 30 minutes outside of downtown, and going in was always a hassle. I always had to deal with traffic, which stressed me out to the max. Then once I finally got into the interior of downtown, it was just, there's so much going on, and finding parking was a nightmare. And it's just, my anxiety was at an 11. My stress was at an 11. It was always, I didn't like doing it, right? And that's perhaps why I'm not doing food photography anymore, is because apparently it marred me. And so I thought, you know what? This is what I'm going to manifest. I'm going to manifest a parking spot in downtown Seattle, because to me, that seemed impossible. And I thought, if there's something to this whole magical manifesting thing, I want to manifest a parking spot, because that would make my life a lot easier. And so I started doing what all of the people told me to do, to believe that it actually worked, to visualize myself getting a parking space right in the front row, to imagine and believe that everything's going to align perfectly, that sort of thing. So I thought, okay, and at that time I'd been playing with that sort of, we are the creators of our own reality, and just sort of seeing what that means and what the rules are to the game, right? So I spent a whole week just really focusing on that parking spot. I'm going to get a parking spot, saying it out loud. I'm going to get a parking spot, etc., right? So then the next gig that I had, the next photography gig I had, I went down to Seattle and I just practiced breathing. I just learned about breathing and meditation. So I was just trying to calm down, which is a part of the process as well, to be in a relaxed state. So I just tried to breathe as I'm stuck in traffic and, grinding my teeth. Just breathe through it, buddy. And I got down to the restaurant that I was supposed to shoot at, And as soon as I pulled up to the restaurant, there's a bunch of cars parked in front of the restaurant. And I was like, oh, of course, this whole manifesting thing is bullshit. And as soon as I said that, a car right in front of me, in front of the restaurant, pulled out into traffic, opening up a spot for me to park in, 6 feet away. And I went, oh, whoops, okay, I see. I'm a believer. And so I started playing with that. Week after week, every time I went to Seattle, I'm going to manifest a parking spot. And I have to tell you that it happened about 90% of the time. And the 10% of the time that I didn't have a parking spot available, I was already in such a state of calm that it didn't matter. I was like, oh, well, it'll all work out, I suppose. And then it did. I would drive a block away. Oh, God forbid, maybe 2 blocks away. And I would find a parking spot and it would all work out. And I was calm. Everything was coming up roses because I had changed my perspective. I had changed my outlook on things. I had begun this process of rewiring how I choose to react to things in the world. And so I also started playing with this idea that everything always works out. I had heard people talking about it, and so I thought, like, let's analyze this in my own life. And I started actively paying attention to things in my life that had come, these bumps in the road, these challenges and trials and tribulations that eventually always come along in our life. And I started thinking back to all of these bumps that I had had on the road previously and whether or not it actually worked out. And upon much analysis, I started to realize that actually it did always work out. Now, that's not to say that there weren't bumps and bruises along the way, right? Not to say that there weren't tears, etc. But did it work out? At the end of the day, did it work out? And I had to answer, well, yeah, it did. It didn't necessarily go the way that I wanted it to. It didn't go the way that I expected it to, but that's just Matt Owens trying to control things. And so once I learned to let go of that, the manifestation started flowing. Once I started realizing that everything works out, and I started putting it to the test. When these challenges would come along, I'd say, okay, let's just see if this works out. And then it did. And so time after time after time, I could see this pattern emerging of bumps in the road appearing before me, and then it's somehow, some way, working out. And so once that started to become my foundation, my base, that no matter what I do, it will always work out, because there had been a proven track record to show that to me. There had been enough evidence in my own life, and looking at other people's lives, and looking into the ancient wisdom from our ancestors, from the East, from the ancient Greeks, from the Egyptians, from the Bible, all reinforcing this idea, this concept that it always works out. And so for me, all of that was enough evidence that, you know what, I'm going to be a little more bold in my life. I'm going to be more likely to take calculated risks in my life. I'm going to be more willing to step outside of my comfort zone with that base knowledge and knowing that I'm always taken care of. That at a bare minimum, I'm going to have enough food in my belly. I'm going to have access to clean water. My kids are going to be taken care of. And so once I stopped worrying about that, because I'd spent my whole life worrying that I wasn't going to be taken care of, the reptilian part of my brain, the human mind, was always terrified that it's not going to work out. We're going to die. And that's okay. That's what that part of our brain is there for. So I'm thankful for it. It's not a burden. I'm thankful that there's a mechanism within my human mind telling me, danger. But what I've learned as a part of this spiritual journey that I've found myself on is that there's often fear behind that mechanism. And as I've learned to face my fears in my life, I've had to reprogram my mind to override that reptilian system of fight or flight and train it like a dog to stop being so fucking scared of everything all the time. That we're going to be okay. That we're not going to die. I mean, eventually we are, of course, but you understand what I'm saying. Not having enough money to pay this big scary bill is not fight or flight. That's just fear. And so it's me training my reptilian mind, my monkey mind, to relax, to trust, to have faith in the unseen, because my mind doesn't know that there's a third eye, that I can see things that are unseen with my two beautiful blue eyes. And so I started living my life and taking these calculated risks, these leaps of faith, knowing that everything's going to work out. And so once I'd created that as my foundation, Spirit came to me one day and said, let's manifest something big. Because I had manifested several small things in my life. It wasn't just the parking spot. I also played around with it. At the time, the place I was living at had a fireplace, and I loved, throwing wood into a real fireplace, not a gas fireplace, but a real fireplace. To hear that crackling wood on a cozy fall evening, like, for me, that was heaven. But I was getting tired of buying these bundles of wood at the grocery store, right? Like, I'm not a lumberjack. I don't have access to woods. And so I'd buy these bundles of wood at $5 a pop. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to manifest some free firewood. Let's try that out. Let's just see what you got with that, universe. And so every day I envisioned myself receiving free firewood from somebody. Or somehow, I didn't put restrictions on it. I was like, I don't care how it comes to me. I don't know if I'm going to find sometimes people say free wood in the front of their yard or whatever. So I was just trusting that I would be guided and led to wherever the free wood was. So then a week later, I get a call from my grandma inviting me over to their house. My grandparents live on 2 acres. It's wooded. See where I'm going with this? And she goes, hey, by the way, when you come over, I've got a bunch of firewood that got chopped up that's on our property. And if you wanted to take it home with you, I know you have a fireplace. You can feel free to take home some free fucking firewood. Those are my words, not grandma's, by the way. But I was like, holy cow. I manifested free firewood. So I started to believe, based on evidence in my own life, that there was something to this whole manifesting thing. So I thought, you know what? I wanted to get my kids 2 bikes. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to manifest 2 bikes. How about that? 2 bikes for my boys. And so I started doing the process, believing it's going to come some way, somehow, not putting restrictions or trying to control the situation in any way, just letting it come to me. And sure enough, I was online on Facebook, back when I was on Facebook. And there's a buy nothing group where people in the neighborhood can put up things that they're offering for free to get rid of, and they put it on their porch and you come and pick it up. So I happened to be checking on there randomly, and guess what somebody was offering? 2 bikes, 2 boys' bikes that were just the right size for my 2 little nuggets. And it came with 2 helmets, which I also didn't have. See, oftentimes I started realizing that when I was manifesting these things, sometimes there would be a cherry on top. Like, oh, and it comes with 2 free helmets? Thanks, universe. I see you. Right? It's just a little wink from the universe. So I started playing with this whole manifestation thing, time after time after time. And so after I got enough of those under my belt, I started realizing, okay, what are we going to do now? And the universe suggested that I shoot for the stars. Try to manifest something outrageous. And so I thought, okay. At the time I was living in an apartment. I had never really lived in a big house before, so I thought, you know what? I'm going to manifest a mansion. Because for me, the firewood and the bicycles are all fine and dandy. But like, if we're going to really do this thing, let's really do this thing. Like, I'm going to manifest a mansion. I started referring to it as the magic mansion, because I thought if this thing's really going to work, there's magic involved here. Somewhere, somehow, this is magical. So we're going to call it the magic mansion. I created a literal vision board, never done that before in my life. Put a bunch of mansions up there, started visualizing it, going to open houses in wealthy neighborhoods, right? And so I started playing with this idea of manifesting a mansion. And then about 2 years ago, this went on for a while. And then about 2 years ago, the universe said to me, let's go bigger than a mansion. Like, what can you think of that we could manifest that could be bigger than that? And I thought real hard about it. And I thought, well, I guess winning the lottery would be that'd be a good proof of concept, right? Pretty big. Then I could buy my mansion. I could buy several mansions, theoretically. So I thought, okay, yeah, winning the lottery, let's do that. And the universe just smiled. Spirit just smiled and said, okay, great. Let's do it. But why do you want a mansion? Why do you want to win the lottery? Why do you want all of this money? And I thought, like many people do, well, so that my life would be easier, obviously. Duh. What a stupid question, universe. Right? What kind of question is that? So I started to look within. I started to answer that question of why do I want this money? And the answer was because, and it was a complicated answer, right? But the answer was because I wanted the safety and security that money brought, so that I wouldn't have to be afraid of being poor, right? Because as I started digging deeper, I started realizing that the reason why I wanted all of this money it was coming from a place of fear. Because my whole life I had been programmed by our reality, right? No blame, whether it's family or parents or society or the government or just the own voice in your head or the community you grew up in, whatever. But most of us, I assume, have blocks around money, fear blocks. We're always afraid, I was at least, that I was never going to have enough money. I was always afraid that I was going to become bankrupt. I was always afraid that I was going to become homeless, right? Those were all of the fears that were swirling in my head. That's why I always, had to grind to work, gather up as much money as I can so that none of those scary scenarios come true, right? And so I realized that I was living my life from a place of fear in many ways, not just regarding money. And so I was at a place in my life where I was starting to face these fears. And I was starting to see where spirit was leading and guiding me. And it was outside of my comfort zone. The universe had shown me that the way to conquer my fears was to face these fears. And so as I started analyzing why I wanted to win and manifest a lottery ticket, was so that I wouldn't be afraid anymore. And the universe said, that's not how it works. Sorry, that's not how it works. You have to first face these fears around money before the money comes in. Because if I were to win the lottery while I was in a place of fear, I would have all of this money in the bank, but I would still be constantly afraid, biting my nails nervously that I was going to somehow lose all of my loot, all of my treasure, right? I would start hoarding it. I wouldn't sleep at night worried that it was going to slip through my fingers. Fear, 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 fear. And so what the universe was showing me, what spirit was guiding me towards, was facing these fears around money. That in order to manifest a winning lottery ticket, I would have to bravely and boldly face these fears around money. And it was a process. It was a terrifying, terrifying process of jumping off of the cliff into the void, not knowing how it was going to work out, not knowing how things were going to play out, but just knowing that once I faced these fears around money, I would be free. I would finally be free. And the universe had me reflect on shooting even bigger than winning a lottery ticket. What do you really want in this life? And I opened it up and I thought, you know what I want? I want to manifest freedom. I want to be free from all of my fears that have been keeping me back and restricting me my whole life, that have been keeping me chained and bound my whole life. I had been enslaved to these fears. And the universe, spirit, was guiding me towards a way to free myself. Money is a tool that can grant freedom for me to do whatever I want, whenever I want. It is not the end-all be-all. It is not the healing salve that will make all of my problems go away. And so I came to a place in my life where I was realizing, oh shit, I've got to face my money fears. And that means I'm probably going to face homelessness. Because at the time, meaning my whole life, I was terrified of being homeless for obvious reasons. And so the universe said, look, we have a proposal for you here. If you're brave enough and willing to do this, knowing that you're always taken care of, knowing that everything always works out here, having faith and trust that God has my back and that spirit is going to ask me to to do several things that are going to terrify Matt Owens, terrify the human, but knowing that I am divinity, knowing that I am unstoppable, the true, real, authentic me, who I truly am at my core, isn't scared of anything. And to start this process of remembering that. And so I was learning that in order to manifest these things in my life, in order to manifest this freedom that I was seeking, certain steps would have to be taken. Certain paths would have to be gone down. And they were not the easy path. They were the big, scary path. The dark woods with the beady red eyes looking at you like in the old cartoons. Like the universe is going to be asking me to go down the scary path. And so after much calculation, after much contemplation, after much analysis, I finally thought, you know what, I'm ready. Let's do this thing. I'm ready to see where this takes me so that I can conquer my fears around money. And Spirit smiled at me and said, we're so proud of you. Here's your first mission if you choose to accept it. And I said, okay, yes, here we go. What's the first step? And the universe said, what we'd like you to do is quit your job and don't renew your lease at your apartment. And just have faith and trust that the next steps are going to come and that you're going to be taken care of. And I was like, holy shit. Is there any way we can do this without doing that? Is there any way that, and the universe is like, you can do whatever you'd like, but this is your path to freedom. And so I did it. I quit my job. I didn't renew my lease. And I took a flying leap off of a cliff, metaphorically speaking, trusting that I was going to be caught at some point, that it was all going to work out some way, somehow. And once I took that leap, I had committed. I was all in. There was no turning back. You can't jump off the cliff and then say, hold on, I want to go back. At that point, you're all in. And as time went on, as I started going down this path, it became less and less scary to me because it was just reaffirming what I had already believed, which is that it's all going to work out just fine. I had gotten myself into some real sticky situations, some real hairy scenarios that I had no idea how I was going to get myself out of. And I realized that I was thinking about it wrong, that it wasn't about me trying to get myself out of it. It was about releasing control and letting Spirit take care of it for me, riding that cosmic wave, going with the flow, trusting and having faith that I'm being led somewhere and that everything is going to be okay in the end. When my intuition, when Spirit nudges me to take inspired action, tells me to go left, tells me to go right, tells me to jump, whatever the case may be, is also a part of the process. And not questioning it. Because questioning it is out of fear. When you question it, you don't have faith and trust in the process. You don't have faith and trust in the divine leading you down this path. And I started coming to this belief, this knowing that what is meant for me is coming to me. And I started having this new perspective that what is meant for me is here in my life now, today, because that's the only thing that exists is the here and now. And what is not meant for me is not in my life right now. And the reason I know that is because that's how my life is today. All the things that I need are here with me right now. All of the things I don't need are not here right now. The thing that I will need tomorrow will be here tomorrow at the appropriate time. And it's trusting that process, that divine timing, that what is meant for you will appear for you at the appropriate time. Not the time that Matt Owens wants. Not the time that the impatient human wants, but in divine timing. There are mechanisms and things going on behind the scenes, beyond the veil, behind the curtain, that I frankly can't comprehend. And the more that I try to comprehend it, it often stresses me out. I love thinking about it, but oftentimes it burns me out. It's too much for my little human mind to comprehend. And so the universe just pats me on the head and says, just relax, buddy. Just enjoy the ride. I trust that there are these canon events in our life. In the Marvel universe now, they say these canon events, these things that are meant to happen in the story no matter what. It's trusting in these canon events, having faith in these canon events. It's like in Spider-Man, Peter Parker trying to avoid being bitten by the radioactive spider. It just doesn't work that way. No matter what Peter Parker does, he is going to get bitten by that radioactive spider at some point because that's a canon event. It's meant to happen in Peter Parker's life. It's that event that sets him off on a new course, a new trajectory, a new chapter of his life. And I believe we have these canon events in our life as well. Marriages, deaths, jobs, moving to a new city. These are canon events that I think that you can't avoid. I believe that we have some free will in between these canon events. We can choose to have a turkey sandwich or a ham sandwich. So I believe that there is a little bit of wiggle room in the free choice department there. But I believe that at the end of the day, we're being guided towards these canon events, and they're going to happen no matter what. In other words, I'm saying you can't screw it up. That whatever is meant to come to you will be magnetically drawn to you. It will seek you down like a heat-seeking missile. Whether or not you zig or zag, left or right, or go down this path or that path, or choose A or B, it's going to find you. It's going to hit its target. What's meant to happen to us is going to happen to us. That's what I believe. And for me, that's reassuring. It means I don't have to work so hard for these things in a way that I thought that I did. I grew up in a religious household. I call it all programming. All of this reality is programming. And so there was a religious programming that told me that I had to do good deeds. I had to do works, acts of service in order to gain curry, to gain favor with God so that he would let me into heaven. And if I didn't do those good deeds, if I did bad deeds, I was going to the bad place, right? And for me, there's fear behind that programming. There's fear behind that belief system. And so as I started freeing myself from this fear by facing the fear, I started questioning whether or not I needed to have acts of service in order to have these miracles happen in my life, in order to be taken care of. Because there's the belief that many people have that God won't take care of you if you don't do the correct things, right? If you don't follow the rules and follow what society says to do, or follow what the Bible says to do strictly, or if you don't do the right things, you're going to be in trouble with God. And I don't think like that anymore. I understand why people think that. I used to think that way, so I get it. It's just a different perspective. And there is no right or wrong. It's just a different viewpoint. It's just an opinion at the end of the day, right? And so as I was questioning whether or not I have to do these things in order to get things from God, I started playing with the idea of not doing that. Of relying more on God's grace. Because I started thinking about, and I started analyzing it just like I analyze everything in my life. Just like I analyzed whether or not everything works out. Just like I analyzed whether or not I'm actually always taken care of. I started analyzing these blessings that came into my life. What did I do leading up to it? Was there something that I specifically did that caused that miracle to happen? Was there something that I did specifically that caused God to grant me a blessing or to grant me favor? I started thinking about all of these specific events in my life, and I started realizing, no, they just came. It was like the snap of a finger. I would get that phone call. I would get that email that would change everything. Suddenly. It's not because I prayed hard enough. It's not because I was enlightened enough. None of that. It was a free gift from the universe. It was a blessing. And so as I started playing with this idea of, do I need to do things in order for this manifestation to work, other than just believe, which is to say, have faith, I started realizing that perhaps that was all that was required in this. Perhaps that was just the major ingredient in this whole manifestation thing, is faith and trust, belief. During this whole process, I started learning to relax, because so often I was trying to control the scenario in some way, shape, or form, because it wasn't working out the way that I thought it was supposed to work out. And so I was trying to wrestle things and, try to make it conform to how I think things should be going and force this and try to make this happen. And the more that I did that, the more resistance was created. It wasn't a smoother ride. It was a bumpier ride because I was trying to take control of it. I was trying to force the manifestation rather than just relaxing and letting it come in, letting it happen to me, letting it magnetize into my life. I was putting up all of these blocks of control because behind that control is a heavy dose of fear. I'm trying to control it because I'm scared. I'm scared that I'm losing control of the situation. I'm scared it's not going to work out the way that I want it to work out, that I think it should work out. It's all fear. And so once I learned to face that fear, address that fear, love that fear, then those blocks started dissolving before my very eyes, just like magic. And so I started learning, practicing, relaxing. Because the more I started hyper-focusing on that thing that I wanted in my life, but it wasn't here yet. Why isn't it here yet? What am I doing wrong? How can I change it? What do I need to... It's all fear-based. And so I started learning not to be so thirsty. Not to want it so bad, whatever it is in my life. Because the more thirsty I got, the more desperate I got, because the thing wasn't in my life that I wanted, whether it's the winning lottery ticket or freedom or more joy and happiness in my life or whatever the thing is that I want. The more I hyper-focus on it not being in my life right now, where is it I want it now? That puts a giant pause on the whole process. The whole manifestation process pauses, lets me have my little human moment. And then as soon as I start relaxing into the process again, having that faith and trust, unclenching my fists, right? Unclenching my jaw, untying that nervous knot in my stomach, the more that I start relaxing my mind, body, spirit, all of it together, it all starts synchronizing. Everything starts working smoothly again. Once I start trusting the process, trusting in divine timing, trusting that I'm exactly where I need to be, saying that to myself enough that I actually believe it, because I didn't believe it at first. Like, I don't think I'm where I'm supposed to be right now. I feel like I've really fucked up. I feel like I'm on the wrong path. And that's reinforced when people in your family also tell you that you're on the wrong path, right? Or society tells you that you're doing it wrong, right? Or Instagram tells you that you fucked up, that your life should look like this. It's about ignoring all of the things on the external, trusting my intuition and gut, trusting that inner knowing, trusting the guidance that I'm receiving from spirit, from the universe, from God, from my angels, from my spirit team, from my higher self, the whole gang, trusting that I'm being led somewhere that's not going to fuck me up so far beyond that I can't recover from it, right? Relaxing. Let's take a breath. Just take a breath. Everything is going to work out perfectly. I am always taken care of. I am loved immensely. I am love. I am everything. Love you. End transmission.